Topping today's news, the outgoing police commissioner tells all the country's murder count jumps past 70 for the year and human remains uncovered on Grand Bahama. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jarino Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News. Thanks for joining us. Outgoing Police Commissioner Paul Roll dishing out some startling information Thursday afternoon when he appeared as a special guest on the Royal Bahamas Police Force's Cop Talk via Zoom. Commissioner Roll telling the host of the show and the media that he was prepared to resign last year if the Minnis administration continued pressuring him to sideline 3 senior officers, including his incoming successor, Clayton Fernandez. Commissioner Roll says he never supported an officer being placed on leave, and once they were, he felt betrayed and deceived. He says there was a time to be silent, but now is a time to speak.
When they asked me to do it, I refused, okay, in the first instance. And when the time came for the extension, I refused in January. And I told them, if you give me a cabinet conclusion, and because that's not me, I don't think I should be the one doing it. I didn't want to do it. And in March, again, it came up and they asked for me to do, and I refused. I refused to do it. And then again in May, and I think the relationship then was getting a little tense because of my stance. And I refused to do it. And I said, you give me something in writing, and I'll carry out your instructions. Without that, I'm not going to do that. And so when it came, the Lancy was getting ready to retire in June, and I went back and I said, I want to bring Fernandez back. I want him to be deputy. And I think that caused...
This was June of 2021?
Last year.
Wow, okay.
Okay, and then it got hot. But I had to maintain decorum. I never said anything. I maintained my professionalism. And they told me, no, it's not going to happen. And then I got my written instructions, okay, which I carried out.
He says after receiving the letter of the dissolution of the parliament, he brought back the officers that were placed on leave and gave them better positions in the force following the current administration's success as the new government. Commissioner Roll says he subsequently apologized for how they were treated. The commissioner is throwing his support behind incoming Commissioner Clayton Fernandez and urges officers to also support him. Commissioner Roll gave the incoming commissioner this advice.
Well, I told him already, and I'll expand some more on it on Tuesday when I speak. One, you have to insulate your family. Okay? You have to maintain an active prayer life. You have to read the Bible. That's where you get your strength. You have to know who you have in your cycle. You have to surround yourself with people, some people who you could depend on and you could trust. Some of them too might betray you, but you just have to trust somebody.
Minister of National Security Wayne Munro commenting on Commissioner Roll's claims of the political interference today. Minister Munro says he represented the 3 officers who were put on leave and nothing the commissioner said was inconsistent. He says this interference happened because of the previous administration's breach of the Constitution.
Was described there as, in my view, a contravention of the Constitution. Certainly, Prime Minister Davis indicated that I'm appointed because I am a senior lawyer who would know that you do not break the Constitution, you do not infringe it. There is a reason that the police are independent of the political directorate. And so people would have seen me directing persons to the police. It's the police who have to come up with a crime plan, and the commissioner issues his policing plan. So the crime isn't political. Addressing it isn't political. So it's very important that the police maintain their independence. And so long as I am in the chair, I don't intend to interfere with the operation of the police.
Minister Monroe contends that it is important to give law enforcement professionals the respect that they deserve. He says he has had the utmost confidence in them before getting into office, and even more so now that they have a closer focus. The scourge of violence continues as the country's homicide count for the year thus far is now at 71. One man was gunned down here in the capital, another stabbed to death on Grand Bahama. Police were called to the Pinedale community shortly before 8 p.m., the scene of the fourth murder since Monday. And when officers arrived on the scene, they were directed to the rear of an apartment complex where they found the body of a male believed to be in his late 20s, early 30s, with apparent gunshot wounds lying next to a fence. Here's Police Press Liaison Officer Superintendent Audley Peters.
Emergency medical services visited the scene and assessed that male and determined that there were no signs of life following their assessment. Our investigations thus far indicates to us that the male was seated at the front of the apartment in a vehicle when he was approached by two gunmen who shot him, and then he managed to get out of the vehicle and run behind the building where they continued firing at him, and he then succumbed to his injuries there on scene.
According to Superintendent Peters, police currently have no leads in this matter. However, he suggests that the Pinedale area has always been an area of concern for police when it comes to gang activity.
This area historically, this area was somewhat of a volatile for the police in that there were a number of factions of groups who were warring against one another. In this instance, we cannot say what was the reason, and so we will not speculate. The evidence must lead us to come to a conclusion, and we will make no conclusion until we get all the facts in place.
With a rise in gun violence in recent weeks, police are urging the public who may have knowledge of people with firearms to speak up.
But again, I will appeal to family, friends, and whoever is associated with these individuals. You're aware that someone is in possession of firearms. Say something to the police so that we can take action. This community is hurting today as a result of the silence of someone. So you have to break it, speak up, and say something so we can act on it. And I made a comment the other night, and just today, about girlfriends talking about their friends. Just today, we arrested a young lady and a male in a vehicle with a firearm. So it proves to us that someone knows what is going on. Who has these firearms? And fortunately, our officers were vigilant. They were on the streets, and they observed two persons in the vehicle and stopped the vehicle and arrested two persons for being in possession of a firearm.
While investigations continue, police were unable to say if there are any CCTV cameras in the area that caught the incident, but they are appealing to the people in the community who may have any information on this homicide to contact their nearest police station or call 911 or 919. As for the stabbing death on Grand Bahama, police say shortly after 10 p.m., Control Room received a report of a male being stabbed at a bar on McKinsey Street. When the officers arrived on the scene, their investigations revealed a group of males were standing in front of the business establishment when two of the adult males became involved in a verbal altercation that turned physical. As a result, one of the males was stabbed multiple times in the chest. The victim ran to the entrance of the bar where he collapsed. He was subsequently transported to the Rand Memorial Hospital in a private vehicle where he was seen and examined by a doctor and later succumbed to his injuries. Police say a second male was also stabbed with non-life-threatening injuries. The suspect in this matter is still being sought. Investigations are being continued. A doctor at the Rand Memorial Hospital on Grand Bahama confirming bones found on the lawn of a home in Winterton Lane, Chesapeake Subdivision, are indeed human remains. According to police reports, shortly before 10 a.m. Wednesday, officers received a report of human remains found at the residence. Police say a male resident was mowing his lawn when he discovered a skull suspected to be that of a human. He checked his surveillance camera and viewed a load of soil being offloaded into his yard the previous day and a round object falling from the truck into the yard. Additionally, he made a closer inspection of the load of soil and discovered several bones. The The remains were taken to the Rand Memorial Hospital, where they were examined by a doctor and determined to be human remains. Investigations continue into this matter. Recent incidents occurring at the Princess Margaret Hospital are being taken very seriously by the Health Department. This according to Dr. Michael Dowell, the Minister of Health and Wellness, speaking about what is being done on behalf of the Health Ministry after it was alleged a 52-year-old man was caught in a sexual encounter with a 14-year-old girl at the hospital, and a video of a man inhaling a suspicious substance while on one of the hospital wards went viral last week.
Our team has gone to the pathogen unit to look to see if we can actually improve the toilet facilities. That is being done. The second thing we're doing is we're looking at beefing up security. We're looking at the various private contractors who are at the hospital and whether or not an audit needs to be done with the type of security individuals that are at the facility. But I want to let the public know that after the Minister of National Security elaborated a bit further, and I don't want to go into it because it's a police matter, we are moving very swiftly to look whether or not the pathogens unit had any deficiencies in the way how the toilet facilities were. And we believe that we can improve upon it, and we're going to do that.
When speaking on the issue of illegal drugs on the hospital compound, he made the following statement.
This is something that has been reported to us on social media. It's also being investigated. We, in our security checks at the hospital, we focus on metal detection. We focus on individuals who may be bringing in a weapon that can put our staff at risk. But this issue of drugs coming onto the compound, if it is so, is something that we're looking at as well, because our security, as you come through security, we look to see if you're bringing in anything in there that can harm individuals, but it did create additional eye opener to determine what's going on.
Dr. Dowell contends the investigations are ongoing, stating that things seen on social media may look a certain way, but prove to be something else upon further investigation. Meantime, the Minister of Health also giving an update on the ongoing COVID protocols in country. Dr. Dowell telling reporters that the mask mandate will remain for now. The minister says it has been determined by officials that efforts to remove the mask mandate at this time would be premature following the removal of the COVID-19 testing at the borders.
We're looking at it. It's a topic that comes to our meetings every Wednesday. We're looking at what's going on around the world. In the Caribbean, I'm traveling, so I'm meeting our counterparts. Our counterparts remove it only to bring it back, and we feel that it's a bit premature to move it at this time.
Dr. Dowell says COVID numbers are being closely monitored, reporting that even though there are 30+ positive patients hospitalized, there are currently none in the intensive care unit, adding that the Omicron variant has proved to be livable, not creating a major issue in the Bahamian healthcare system. On Tuesday, the United Kingdom posted on its government website that Thomas Hartley has been appointed the British High Commissioner to the Bahamas in succession to Sarah Dixon, OBE, who is going to another diplomatic service appointment at the end of July. Ms. Dixon was tasked with reopening the High Commission office here in Nassau during challenging times of Hurricane Dorian and the COVID-19 global pandemic. Mr. Hartley will take up his appointment in August of this year. He said he is looking forward to experiencing the warmth, beauty, and hospitality the Bahamas is known for, and is looking forward to building on the excellent service of Ms. Dixon by further strengthening the British-Bahamas partnership. Mr. Hartley says the UK looks forward to continuing its cooperation with the Bahamas in security, climate change, and education, including much more. We'll take a break here, and we'll be right back after these commercials.